For the first time, my adopted daughter actually felt safe with me. I'm 6'5" with tattoos down both arms, and when we first met at the agency 6 months ago, my youngest was terrified of me. The caseworker had warned us. She and her older sister had been through 3 different foster placements before landing with an elderly couple who couldn't manage them anymore. She was 7 and had learned not to trust easily, especially not men who looked like they'd come off a motorcycle. The first 3 months were brutal. One-word answers only. How was school? Fine. Want to play a game? No. Meanwhile, she'd talk my wife's ear off for hours about cartoons and what she wanted to be when she grew up. My wife kept telling me to be patient, that she'd come round. I assumed it would take years before she saw me as anything but the scary man she was stuck with. Then last Tuesday, my wife had taken our older girl out for school supplies, and I was home with the little one. She'd asked permission to play in the garden, barely making eye contact while she asked. I said, of course, and went back to my emails at the kitchen table. 20 minutes later, I heard the neighbor's German Shepherd barking through the fence. He does that constantly, so I didn't move at first. Then the barking got frantic, and I heard her scream. I knocked my coffee flying getting outside, found her standing frozen about 15 feet from the fence, staring at this enormous dog on the other side. He was just sitting there, tail going, tennis ball in his mouth. But to a 7-year-old who'd never had a pet, he must have looked like a wolf. And then she did something that took the legs out from under me. She turned, saw me in the doorway, and ran straight at me, grabbed both my legs, buried her face in my jeans, and whispered, so quietly I nearly missed it, "Daddy, please make him go away." First time she'd ever called me that. I had to take a second before I could speak. I picked her up and she wrapped her arms around my neck, and I carried her over to the fence. The dog was still sitting there, patient, tail hammering the ground, because all he wanted was for someone to throw his ball. I crouched down with her still clinging to me and put my hand through the fence. He licked it immediately and pushed his head into my palm. See? He's not mean. He's just lonely and wants to play. She peeked out from my shoulder. I could feel her heart going against my chest. Then, slowly, so slowly, she put one small hand through the fence. He licked her fingers very gently and she gasped, and then she laughed. Actually laughed. First time I'd ever heard it. "He's silly," she said. "Want to throw his ball?" She nodded, and I set her down. She lobbed it over and he took off like a rocket, brought it straight back into her hand. She was appalled by the slobber and threw it again anyway. We were out there 20 minutes. She completely forgot she'd ever been frightened. Afterwards, I made her lunch, cheese toasty and apple slices, and instead of taking her plate to the sofa like always, she sat at the table with me. I started telling her about the work I was finishing, not really expecting her to care. That's when the questions started. What do your tattoos mean? Did it hurt? Can I have one when I'm older? Are there more under your shirt? Will you teach me to ride a motorbike one day? 47 questions in half an hour. I counted. My wife came home 3 hours later to find us building a blanket fort in the living room out of every pillow and sheet we own. Our daughter was explaining very seriously that the fort required a secret password and that the neighbor's dog should be permitted to visit at weekends. My wife just stood in the doorway with her hand over her mouth and mouthed, "What happened?" I mouthed back later. That night, when I tucked her in, she hugged me goodnight. Held on for a good few seconds too. 6 months of one-word answers. 6 months of wondering whether I'd ever be more to her than a shape in the doorway. And it turned out all it took was a dog, a tennis ball, and one moment where the safest place in the world happened to be behind my legs.